David, ready? Well, thank you for those who have stayed. It's wonderful to have you here for this town hall meeting. And thank you to anybody who may be watching it live stream as well. We're gathered to present to you the fundamental reasons the Parish Pastoral Council and the Parish Finance Council have given a firm thumbs up to the idea of pushing ahead with plans to move our community of St. Catherine Drexel to build a permanent church. Given that, we as a community sought a proxy from the Archdiocese to move ahead with a second capital campaign. As the case statement for the campaign indicated, following our 10th anniversary in 2015, we conducted a first capital campaign to basically establish an investment fund or the foundational money for an eventual building project. And now 5 years later and our 15th anniversary, the Archdiocese has given its permission, again a proxy, to conduct a second campaign to raise more funds toward a building project. As membership has grown, as our ministerial needs have been articulated and have begun to be answered, it has become increasingly apparent that the space we currently have here in our warehouse turned prayer house is simply not adequate to meet our needs and has become a hindrance to the expanding of programs and activities needed to support the faith life of St. Catherine Drexel Catholic Church. Along with the permission to conduct another campaign, the Archdiocese has also given permission to develop plans for our permanent church building to be built on the property we own at 161st Street and Variolite on the east end of Ramsey Central Park. When that permission was secured, the Parish Finance Council recommended we work with a contractor to develop a design-build concept for a building that would meet our present needs and allow for the space needed to continue developing the necessary programming to move us into the future. You'll hear more about that from Gary Van Scoy, but we have employed the Langer Construction Company, and they work with Station 19 architects to do the design-build plan. The hope is that the combination of funds, both banked already and pledges made in this second campaign, along with the funds from the first campaign, will allow us to proceed with phase one of construction, and you'll hear more about that. More information about the financial requirements will also be presented, as well as the presentation about the building concept. As I indicated in the case statement in the campaign brochure that you can take with you if you have not received one, that's on the back table there, ultimately our desire is that our church building will foster an atmosphere that promotes the sacred liturgy, reverent prayer, and the joyful celebration of Christ's sacraments. Further, our own permanent building will also afford us the space to build community because it will allow for greater hospitality, adequate space for meetings and religious formation classes, youth ministry needs, community outreach, social gatherings, staff office and workspace, and greater storage. Our patron, St. Catherine Drexel, was a wise, prudent, generous, holy, and visionary woman. We must trust in her intercession on our behalf for guidance and the grace needed to become the parish God desires us to be. And we would be foolish to not rely upon the wisdom that enabled her to both found and solidify a vibrant and forward-thinking community of religious women who to this very day continue the ministries she established to meet the needs of the African American and indigenous peoples' communities. She always encouraged her community, the women religious of the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, to press forward and fear nothing. Those words focused them through many turbulent and difficult times and experiences. They have lived those words since their founding on February 12th, 18 1991 to this present day. We would be foolhardy to not do the same. So I'm encouraging and I'm pleading for and praying for a generous and wholehearted financial response to this vital capital campaign so that we too will press forward and do so without fear. Thank you. Gary?
Okay. I'm Gary Van Scoy. I'm the chair of the building committee. Put up a timeline up there so you can take a look at that. This is something we put together just to be able to communicate. What I'm going to talk about are some of the high points on this, and this is based on a lot of questions that I've received. So just so you know, Father Paul asked me to start this, to be chair in April of 2018, and I got to admit, there's a little bit of apprehension about accepting the role. It wasn't fear, and we chose to move on anyway, but it's a big responsibility. So based on that, first thing I did is went out and said, I need help. And I asked for volunteers and received a lot of support from the congregation. So I really appreciate the folks that came forward to help with that. So we started with a few assumptions. First of all, it's going to be multi-purpose. It's going to be a phase 1 because we expect a phase 2, so it has to be prepared for that. We need to have a worship space that's going to hold about 400 people. We need to have some overflow because we expect continued growth. So we needed to have a kitchen. We need a kitchen. That's one of the things that we really need to focus on. We need to have enough room for our programs, for our ministries. It's difficult right now. Well, of course, today is a little bit difficult anyway, but while we were fully functional, it was difficult to maintain the type of program we needed for, especially for youth and for generations of faith, because we're running out of space. Today we are down to 1 conference room, and it makes it difficult. So these are things that we need to focus on to get going. And oh, by the way, the architect made sure that when we planned this, we planned for adequate restrooms. Just want to make sure you understood that. So out of the volunteers, we formed subcommittees. And each subcommittee was supposed to focus on one aspect of this. We focused on what are our uses, what programs, what do we need in terms of space in order to accomplish what we needed to do for the community. So came up with a classroom/conference room subcommittee. But again, we need to support the youth program and what the adults are doing. We definitely needed a kitchen, got a group for that. Someone to focus on worship space, the design, make sure it's adequate. Technology, mechanical, and a contractor committee. These are people who understood what contractors needed to do. I needed to be very confident that what we were talking about was something we could accomplish. So I needed the support of those people. I also put together a steering committee. I invited some other people to help me with managing this and ultimately sharing the blame if it failed. I mean, they were here to help me make the appropriate decisions as we go. So I really appreciate what those folks did for me and for this whole program. One of the questions I've received is contractor selection. So after we got everything together, we needed to start identifying. As Father Paul said, we chose Langer Construction. But the process was we put together a letter, sent it out to 13 contractors. and said, we're looking at a design build, would you like to talk to us about it? They came back, 9 of them came back. So we took the information. These were all excellent responses. We had a very difficult time paring this down, but we got it down to 3 contractors, and then we set up a road trip. And in June, we went and visited construction sites where these 3 contractors had worked, and we talked to the people that they actually provided the service for. After that, the contractor committee helped me with that, and we decided to go with Langer. Langer uses Station 19 as their architect, so we worked very closely with the architect after that. And one of the things that we did in August 2018 is we started having our subcommittees meet with the architect. So that way, we were able to provide them input on what we needed in terms of space in order to maintain our program. So we were going great guns on that, and then about in 2018, September, we had to put everything on hold because we didn't have the proxy from the Archdiocese. That was basically the permission to spend the money to continue with our program and development. So that it was disappointing, but it was certainly something that we needed to work through. So Troy, you want to go to 2019? So we continued to focus on it, trying to do something. In March of 2019, we were able to start again, and we started working, taking that information that we had provided to the architect and to actually develop some concepts. How can we put these spaces together to meet our needs? And we worked on that through July, and in July we had a pretty firm idea of what kind of a concept would work for us. And at that point, they developed also not only the basic concept plans, but the fly-through for communicating. And I think most of you have had an opportunity to see it, but we're going to see it again later. So the capital campaign was kicked off in December, and then 2020 happened, and things kind of got put on the back burner because we had other things that COVID put a kibosh on a lot of things. So, and then we were working again to get back to the capital campaign, because in order to meet this, to get this done, we're going to just need some support. So, Troy, you want to go to the next slide, please? And to go beyond that, just go to the, okay. Just so you understand what the concept is, basically what you see there is an aerial shot of the Central Park and our property. And you'll notice that we're going to look at utilizing the eastern 20 acres, roughly 20 acres. That means that there's roughly 11 acres that are left over that we probably won't need, and we're considering selling that to help fund the project. The other thing is this particular shot gives a little bit idea of what phase 2 could look like. So next one, Troy. And this is one, it's a basic drawing, gives the idea of where how it would lay out in terms of parking and then the expansion. And then the next one, this is the floor plan. And again, this is a concept. This is what they put together to say, with the uses that we identified and the space that we need, how can they throw this together? This one shows the same concept, but potential for expansion, and this is why they designed it this way, is we have the ability, if we go with this particular concept, to expand it very readily. And it shows right now our floor plan for the concept is about 15,500 square feet. We're currently running about 10,500 square feet in this location. This is roughly 50% more. It is more efficiently utilized and planned, and again, it's designed to get us into the future. So at that point, I'm going to leave it, and I think we have some input from one of our families.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Brandon Sis. That's Ben Sis.
My name is Max.
That is Max.
And I'm Megan.
We are the Sis family, and we were asked to just say a little bit about what we value with St. Catherine Drexel here, and why we think this is such a great community to belong to. Both Megan and I grew up in the Catholic Church. Me in St. Cloud, Megan out in Mandan, North Dakota, just outside of Bismarck. And we both kind of had that traditional Catholic Church experience. Pretty old Catholic communities out there. Kind of that turn of the century, very ornate experience.
Lots of statues.
Lots of statues, lots of saints looking down upon you from the ceiling. And it's something that we both grew up with, and that was kind of our view of the Catholic Church. When we went to college, Megan and I met in college in undergrad, and then one of our first dates was actually to Mass, as corny as that is, but it was part of our experience. We met each other, and we eventually got married. Megan went off to grad school in Portland, Oregon. We did a little bit of church searching and fell in love with the parish a little farther away from us, from where we were living. But it was just such a vibrant parish. It had such an engaging pastor and an excellent music ministry, to the point that he is one of the composers for the Oregon Catholic Press, and we sing some of his songs actually in our hymnal.
Regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. So we ended up moving back to Minnesota. We had some connections to St. Stephen's. Ben actually goes to St. Stephen's Elementary. He's in second grade, right, Ben? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we were still kind of searching for a similar parish to what we had found out in the Portland area, which we came upon St. Catherine Drexel. It was a little unnerving at first. It was a chair church. Neither of us had grew up in a chair church. I hear some giggling, and I know you know what that kind of means. It's a multi-purpose facility, and that's something that I think the Catholic Church traditionally does not embrace or has not embraced. But it's something that absolutely works for this community, and I think that's great that we're able to celebrate within those confines. Being able to take this warehouse and turn it into a prayer house that looks and feels every much a bit of the church as any other Catholic community in the country or in the world.
When we did move back to Minnesota and we were doing our church shopping, I was very pregnant with Ben. And I had to admit that I was maybe somewhat judgmental. I judged a book by its cover and not by its community, so to speak. Or not by its content, I guess is a better way to put that. When Brandon tried to convince me to give St. Catherine Drexel a try, I was really hesitant, and my mentality of it was that I didn't, we're gonna have a baby soon. I don't want to have my baby baptized on a countertop with a bowl. That just wasn't what I wanted for my, one of the most beautiful sacraments that the Catholic Church offers. And so we actually chose not to have Ben baptized here. We baptized him at a different location, and after I was worn down, I guess you could say, by Brandon, and really gave St. Catherine Drexel a try and experienced the community and the atmosphere that's here at our church, I was actually very disappointed in my choice and very disappointed in myself because I've never experienced a sacrament quite as beautiful as what Father Paul does, baptisms here at our parish, involving the entire community and really celebrating that sacrament, specifically for that child and making it just so memorable for the family as well.
And such a part of the community. It really does feel like the welcoming sacrament that is meant to be. So we found St. Catherine Drexel. We actually had connections in that Mark Stockert, our former music minister, had, I believe, his first gig as a music minister at Megan's home parish back in Mandan. So there was some connection there.
I won't say what grade I was in when that happened. You're welcome, Mark.
We were just so enamored with the wonderful vocals, the great instruments that were integrated into the music ministry, and even clapping, which is weird for a Catholic church. We were interested in helping to build a parish community and to building it into what you want it to be. Is it the stewardship prayer that we have prayed several times? Making the community what you want it to be, and because it is composed of us. And that's absolutely what St. Catherine Drexel is. It's not a great ornate church. It's a utilitarian space it's a meeting space. It's a congregation space for us, the St. Catherine Drexel community. And I think that's very important, and it shows the right placement of values, I think, to coming generations here.
One of the things we've been always very impressed with is the flexibility and the forward thinking of St. Catherine Drexel. Obviously, we've all been in survival mode for almost close to a year now with COVID-19. And none of our family's parishes have been able to adapt quite the way that our parish has. The live stream and the fact that we could do that almost instantaneously after things had to shut down is very impressive to us, and it was pretty incredible. It speaks volumes to the flexibility in the church community that we have.
It was a fantastic pivot to the virtual services, and I think it shows that St. Catherine Drexel is the type of vibrant, engaging, and dynamic community that we think the Catholic Church is and continues to be, and what we can show is a vision for the future. So thank you for your donations, thank you for your support, and let's keep this ball moving.
Keep the ball moving so that more people can stop judging a book by its cover and actually have the space to work cohesively together and move forward.
Thank you.
One of the many questions that we are getting from people is, well, why don't we just go ahead and build? Why do we have to raise all this money first? The reason is really for our own protection. The Archdiocese now has a requirement that before they will give the go-ahead for a parish to do any new building, major renovation, or other building project, that they have to have between money in the bank and pledges enough to cover whatever the cost of that project is going to be. It used to be that parishes were allowed to go into debt to do their buildings, and what happened is several parishes went millions and millions of dollars in debt, were unable to pay their financial obligations to the Archdiocese. In fact, there's still several $1 million owed by those parishes to the Archdiocese for our benefits programs, the general insurance, parish assessments, and other obligations that we have. But it was also taken away from what they were able to do as a parish, because they had to take so much of their operations money to pay off a loan that they had. And they were not able to put money into ministries and programming that they really needed to do. So the Archdiocese then came up in the early 2000s with this requirement of having the money in the bank or pledges. Now, you obviously are going to have a little bit of debt when you get done, because the contractor wants to get paid when he's done building. And with a campaign going over a 3-year period, that money's not all going to come in. So there will be a construction loan to pay that difference between the money that's pledged but not yet received and what we had to pay out. You heard Father Paul and Gary both refer to a proxy. What that means is the churches in Minnesota have a special statute that establishes them as religious organizations. And we have a corporate board, which is the official decision-making body for St. Catherine Drexel. And there are certain things that are required for that corporate board to take action on. One of those is spending $25,000 or more on any one thing, so I had to get the proxy to do the agreement with a contractor. We'll also need to get the proxy then to actually go ahead with a building. What the proxy is the corporate board is made up of 5 individuals. Father Paul, as pastor, serves as the vice president of the corporate board. Kathy Reed, one of our lay trustees, is the secretary. Mike Studeman, the other lay trustee, is the treasurer of the corporate board. But the other 2 members are the archbishop, who serves as the president, and the vicar general of the archdiocese. So anytime we need to take action of the corporate board, a resolution that they need to pass, we have to send a letter to the archdiocese requesting the proxy votes of the archbishop and vicar general, so the corporate board can then take that action. Father Paul has authorized, once we receive that proxy, to pass, to cast the votes on behalf of the archbishop and vicar general. And those resolutions have to be unanimous. So if we don't get the yes votes of the archbishop or vicar general, we can't move ahead with whatever that action is. So that's why we're really needing to push hard on this capital campaign to see how much money we can actually raise. Currently, we have about $1.5 million in the bank. We have a concept of what that building can look like. The contractor's have given us an estimate of how much it might cost to build that the way it currently is designed. We told the contractor and the architect, stop doing anything until after our campaign is done. And once we see how much money we've got available, we'll then go back to the contractor and say, okay, you had told us it's going to cost, this amount of money. We came up with a little bit less than that. What modifications can we make without sacrificing space to those plans so we can build something with the money we do have available? The space is the critical thing. We cannot do the ministries and programming and the breakout sessions for age-appropriate groups or generations in the limited space we've got available here. That's why we need to build something that's got more space available. So building a new facility that's got the same amount of space, the 10,000 square feet we've got here, we don't really accomplish anything. So we need that 15,000 plus square feet that Gary talked about just to continue to do the ministries and programming and services that we really need to be doing as a parish. So we really need everybody to participate. We've already received pledges from 76 households. That includes a couple pledges we received from people who are not even parishioners of St. Catherine Drexel that have pledged to our capital campaign. And those individuals that have made pledges, it's a total of $462,254.80 that those pledges have amounted to. And so far, we've received $119,254.95 from those individuals that have made those pledges. They're 3-year pledges, so you can pay monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever works for you over that 3-year period. In addition to those pledges, we've also received money from 30 other donors who have contributed to the capital campaign without actually turning in their pledge card yet. And those fall into 3 categories. When we did the first campaign, we had a number of people who signed up for auto withdrawal. So on the 15th of the month, we would just process a batch with Village Bank, take money out of their bank account, put it into our building fund account, and that went towards the pledge that they made on the first campaign. When people met their pledge, I contacted them and said, you've met the pledge that you made. What do you want to do with that auto withdrawal that's coming out of your bank account? The vast majority of those said, well, we've gotten used to that, just keep it going. So those people who have that money coming out of their bank account, that's now getting credited to the second campaign, even though you've not yet made a pledge towards that campaign. Another group is in our envelope packets, there's a monthly envelope for the capital campaign. So some people have been utilizing those and making a contribution each month to the campaign, again, without having turned in a pledge card. So there are some individuals doing that. And the third is those that are live streaming us online, going online and making donations to the capital campaign. And again, some of those have even been from non-parishioners. So you don't have to be a parishioner to donate or to make a pledge to our campaign. But so far, the total dollars that we received between those who have made their pledges and turned in some money, as well as those other 30 donors, it's $132,329.95. So adding that to what came in from the first campaign, taking out the expenses that we've incurred because we have had to make some payments to the contractor. We've had some other payments like for the brochures and pledge cards and some things. So there's been some money that's already been spent out of that fund. But again, there's about $1.5 million currently invested in the building fund, and that's at 4 different locations. The original building fund was at Village Bank, but because of FDIC requirements, once we got to a certain dollar level, we wanted to make sure that we didn't have more money invested in one bank than what FDIC would cover. So we have gone to 2 other banks. So we do have money invested in 3 banks. The majority of the money is actually with Catholic Community Foundation. So whenever we get enough built up in our Village Bank account, we send some more to Catholic Community Foundation. In fact, we're at the point now where we need to send about $50,000 from Village Bank to Catholic Community Foundation. There's multiple ways that you can make those contributions. Fill out your pledge card and indicate on that pledge card how you want to do it. If you gave to the first campaign and give to this second campaign, we have various levels of recognition that we'll be giving. So between the 2 campaigns, if you give up to $5,000, you'll be recognized at the donor gift level. If you gave $5,000 to each of those, so you're at $10,000, you're at that patron gift level. If you gave $25,000 to the first campaign, you give another $25,000 to this campaign, that'll put you at that pillar gift level. And there'll be some type of recognition, whether it's plaques, bricks, or whatever, in the entry area of this space to recognize those individuals. So 100 years from now, when we're in the cemetery, our ashes are at our new space or wherever, people can look at that and recognize, here's the people who made this building possible, not only for their own use, but looking ahead to the future of St. Catherine Drexel and gave us what we currently have. So some people are a little bit shy, don't really want recognition or whatever, but this is a way to really show that it's the efforts of those that are here now that made going forward really possible. So fill out your pledge card. Even if you, for some reason, are not able to give at all, turn it back in and indicate that, because we're going to be doing some follow-up on those that have not returned the cards, and you can save yourself getting some phone calls and additional mailings if you get that card in. But we urge everybody to make an equal sacrifice. We know some people can give very large amounts of money, and others maybe only give a very small amount. But whatever you're able to do, we ask you to go ahead and do that. And that can be just monetary contributions. Send in a check for that amount. You can go online, give online using auto withdrawal out of your own bank account. You can even use credit cards if you want to rack up miles. We encourage you, though, if you're going to use a credit card, we do pay a fee for that, so you've got the option when you put in your credit card to also pay that 2.5% fee that we need to pay, so that we get the full benefit of the total dollars that you're really pledging. We have to take that 2.5% off. We're not getting the full benefit of the dollar amount you wanted to commit. You can also do IRA distributions. We've got a number of people that are doing that. So rather than having that come to you as taxable income, you can have it come straight to Catherine Drexel and just designate it for the building fund. You just need to inform us whether it's the general operations or building fund are split between those two. You can also do stock donations. We've got some individuals, in fact, we've got one that's pending right now. The stock was just received by our broker on Friday. He called me and was going to go ahead and sell it, so we'll find out in the next couple days the net proceeds from that stock sale. So especially the way the stock market has gone way up, you donate that stock to us, you're not going to be paying our capital gains tax on it, so there's some, again, some real tax benefit to stock donations. If you're a subcontractor of some sort, you can even do an in-kind contribution. The contractor will work with subcontractors provided that they'll follow his schedule, not just do it at your convenience. So flooring company, plumbing, electrical, roofing, any of those typical subcontractors, they can donate their services as an in-kind contribution. So there's a number of ways of giving. You should have gotten a pledge card in the mail back several months ago. If you have lost that, we've got other ones available. You can also go to our webpage, and the pledge card is available on the webpage. Just click on the Building Campaign tab, and under Ways to Give, click on that, and the first option there you can click on, and it does take you right to where that pledge card can be filled out, and that's also where our online giving is, so you can not only fill out the pledge card, you can go right ahead and make your contribution there. So that covers pretty much what we want to talk about today. So we'd like to open it up if there's any questions any of you have about the campaign, about the concept. We'll answer those questions, and then we've got a little video to show a fly through what this concept looks like that the architect put together. The song that goes with that was one that was written by Mark Stockert, former music director here for our 10th anniversary, and our choir actually recorded the music, and Troy then combined that stuff together to put that video that we'll be watching. But are there any questions any of you got for any of us? And thank you.
Last night, some questions came up before 30 asked, and that was, two people asked me, why do we not build with a basement so that we can save space?
Yeah, that was a question we actually had at one of our small gatherings, and it's an excellent question. In one of our very early meetings with the contractor, that's a question that Gary and I both asked the contractor. In fact, we had already gone up, looked at the land where it's a little bit of a slope, thought, oh, gee, a walkout basement here would make a lot of sense. Some of these things could be put in the basement. And that's got to be cheaper than just building everything on one level. The contractor informed us that's an incorrect assumption. We knew that with a basement we had to put in an elevator, and that's roughly $125,000 in cost. But he pointed out another number of other extra costs there are for building with a basement. You have to have the 2 steps, so there's an expense there. You're sacrificing some space for those 2 stairways. So there are a number of things that the contractor pointed out, that it's actually more per square foot to build on 2 levels than to spread out and build it all on 1 level. So that's an excellent question. Because Gary and I thought it made a lot of sense when we asked the contractor, found out we were wrong. Any other questions? Okay, if you do have some, but you don't want to ask them in public, all of us will be available afterwards, but go ahead now and we'll show this video of what the concept actually looks like.
Out of common
Thank you for taking the time to view this and to talk with us about our building campaign. If you have other questions, you can see some of us after this time for that. There are the brochures in the back if you did not receive one with the pledge card in it. It's great. And as I said last night, I am positive that there is somebody here in this room right now or watching us on live stream that could give $50,000. I know you're out there. Thank you.